In a bold move that marks a significant escalation in the ongoing tensions between the Trump administration and elite academic institutions, President Trump has announced plans to cancel all federal contracts and funding directed at Harvard University totaling around $100 million. This decision, disclosed in a letter to federal agencies on May 27, is part of a broader strategy to dismantle what the administration perceives as Harvard's liberal bias and failure to adhere to federal directives regarding diversity and discrimination. The letter, which instructs federal agencies to sever ties with Harvard and seek alternative vendors for future contracts, is the culmination of a series of punitive measures enacted by the Trump administration against the university. Since last month, approximately $3.2 billion in grants and contracts with Harvard have been frozen, raising concerns about the long-term financial health of one of the nation's most prestigious institutions. The administration's aggressive stance appears aimed at undermining Harvard's global influence and financial stability, a move described by an administration official as a complete severance of ties. Harvard has been vocal in pushing back against these actions, framing them as an infringement on its First Amendment rights. The university's president, Alan M. Garber, condemned the cancellation of its ability to enroll international students, a decision that could affect around 6,800 students or 27% of its total enrollment, calling it a potentially devastating blow. The university is currently engaged in legal battles to restore its funding and rights, including a recent temporary court ruling that reinstated its ability to enroll international students. The administration's rationale for these cuts has hinged on accusations of Harvard's noncompliance with a Supreme Court ruling that banned the use of race in admissions decisions. The administration has pointed to declining enrollment figures among black students as evidence of this alleged noncompliance. However, critics argue that the administration's narrative lacks statistical backing and serves more as a political tool than a genuine concern for civil rights. This recent escalation comes on the heels of broader attacks on higher education, with Trump vowing to impose higher taxes on university endowments and labeling elite institutions as bastions of Marxist ideology. The House of Representatives recently approved a plan that could cost Harvard an estimated $850 million annually due to increased taxation on its substantial $53 billion endowment. The implications of these developments extend beyond Harvard, as similar threats loom over other prestigious universities like Columbia, which has also been targeted by the administration. The ongoing battle raises critical questions about the future of higher education in the United States, particularly regarding federal funding and the autonomy of academic institutions. As the situation unfolds, it is clear that the Trump administration is prepared to wield its power to reshape the landscape of higher education, challenging universities to adapt or risk losing vital support. The outcome of Harvard's legal challenges and the broader implications for university funding will likely set the tone for the future relationship between the federal government and academic institutions in America. As the nation approaches the next presidential election, the education sector remains a pivotal battleground in the ideological war between the administration and its critics, setting the stage for further developments in the months to come. As the geopolitical landscape continues to shift, Ukraine is preparing for what many analysts believe will be a significant Russian offensive this summer. The anticipation of renewed hostilities in the eastern region of Ukraine has raised alarms not only for the government in Kiev but also among its international allies, who are keenly aware of the implications such an escalation could have for European stability. Reports suggest that Russian military forces are regrouping and potentially intensifying their operations, particularly in the Donetsk and Luhansk regions where fighting has been fierce for years. "We are seeing an uptick in troop movements and military supplies," noted a defense analyst familiar with the situation. This could indicate that Russia is planning a major offensive, particularly as summer approaches and conditions are more favorable for ground operations. The expected offensive comes at a time when Ukraine has made notable strides in its defensive capabilities, bolstered by Western military aid. The United States and European nations have provided advanced weaponry and training aimed at strengthening Ukraine's ability to withstand aggression.
However, the looming threat of a Russian advance presents complex challenges.
Analysts are concerned that an escalation could lead to increased casualties and further destabilization in the region, potentially prompting a more significant military response from NATO. The geopolitical ramifications of a successful Russian offensive extend beyond Ukraine's borders. A significant shift in control could embolden Russia's ambitions in Eastern Europe and raise fears among neighboring countries. A decisive victory for Russia could embolden it to pursue more aggressive policies in the region, warned a political scientist specializing in Eastern European affairs. This isn't just about Ukraine, it's about the broader balance of power in Europe. In tandem with military developments, the socio-political narrative within Ukraine is evolving. The ongoing conflict has not only impacted military strategy but also shaped public sentiment. A recent survey indicated that a majority of Ukrainians remain resilient, with many expressing a strong commitment to sovereignty and independence. Even in the face of adversity, the spirit of the Ukrainian people is unbroken, said a spokesperson for a prominent Ukrainian NGO. Our resolve to stand against aggression is stronger than ever. As the situation develops, the international community is closely monitoring events, with many leaders reiterating their support for Ukraine. However, the potential for a renewed offensive raises questions about the effectiveness of current strategies and the need for a unified response should the conflict escalate further. In conclusion, as Ukraine braces for a possible Russian summer offensive, the implications of such an event could reverberate throughout Europe and beyond. The resilience of the Ukrainian people, combined with international support, will play a pivotal role in shaping the outcome of this ongoing conflict. Observers will be watching closely not only for military developments but also for how they will influence the broader geopolitical landscape in the months to come. In an era defined by geopolitical tensions and rapid technological advancements, the U.S. is grappling with multiple significant developments that could reshape its international and domestic landscape. From military reinforcements in Europe amid rising fears of a conflict with Russia to substantial corporate acquisitions in the tech sector, the implications of these events are vast and multifaceted. The U.S. Senate, with voices like Senator Lindsey Graham at the forefront, has made it abundantly clear that it will not stand idle in the face of what it perceives as aggressive maneuvers by Russian President Vladimir Putin. In a recent opinion piece, Graham stated the U.S. Senate won't tolerate Putin's games, underscoring a growing bipartisan resolve to counter perceived threats from Moscow. This sentiment resonates strongly within the context of increasing military presence in Europe, where the U.S. is bolstering its northern front in response to Russian military activities. The Pentagon has initiated the deployment of additional troops and advanced weaponry to European allies, reinforcing commitments made under NATO agreements. Observers note that such actions signal a shift from mere deterrence to a more proactive stance as the risk of armed conflict looms larger. In the business realm, Salesforce has made headlines with its strategic acquisition of Informatica for a staggering $8 billion. This move highlights the growing trend of consolidation in the tech industry as companies seek to enhance their capabilities in data management and analytics to remain competitive in a rapidly evolving market. The acquisition not only expands Salesforce's portfolio but also reflects an urgent need for businesses to harness data effectively in order to drive innovation and improve customer experiences. Salesforce's CEO stated, "Informatica's expertise will allow us to deliver even more value to our customers and help them navigate the complexities of data." Meanwhile, advancements in artificial intelligence are prompting new discussions about privacy and security, particularly in sensitive environments such as healthcare. As AI technologies increasingly integrate into everyday practices, there is growing concern about the potential for these systems to infringe upon patient confidentiality. Reports suggest that AI may be utilized to monitor doctor-patient interactions, raising ethical questions about consent and data usage. Experts warn that while AI can enhance diagnostic capabilities and streamline operations, it is imperative to establish robust safeguards to protect patient rights. As these narratives unfold, the intersection of military readiness, corporate strategy, and technological advancements paints a complex picture of America's current landscape. The U.S. is not only responding to external threats but is also navigating internal transformations that could redefine its economic and social fabric. The developments in Europe and the tech sector suggest that the U.S. is at a critical juncture,
with decisions made today likely to influence the trajectory of both national security and technological innovation in the years to come.
Looking ahead, the implications of these events will continue to unfold, particularly as geopolitical tensions remain high and the pace of technological change accelerates. The interplay between military strategy, corporate maneuvers, and ethical considerations in technology will be critical in shaping a future that balances security, growth, and the protection of individual rights. The coming months will be pivotal as policymakers, business leaders, and technologists navigate this intricate landscape. In a significant move within the healthcare sector, private equity firms TPG and Blackstone have made a substantial offer to acquire Hologic, a prominent American medical technology company, for more than $16 billion. This bid, reported by the Financial Times, comes at a time when Hologic has faced considerable challenges, including a notable decline in share price and pressure from U.S. tariffs impacting global supply chains. Hologic, which specializes in diagnostics for women's health and is known for its breast mammography machines, received a non-binding offer from TPG and Blackstone that would value the company between $16.3 billion and $16.7 billion, including debt. The proposed acquisition price reflects a substantial premium over Hologic's recent closing price of $54.28 per share, valuing the shares at approximately $70 to $72. However, the company has reportedly rejected this initial offer, although sources suggest that discussions may resume in the future. The backdrop of this potential acquisition is Hologic's struggle with a 24% drop in its share price this year, driven by the adverse effects of tariffs and a slowdown in market demand. Following the news of the buyout proposal, Hologic's shares surged over 15%, closing at $62.67, indicating investor optimism about the possibility of a deal. It has been a tumultuous few months from a macroeconomic and policy perspective, remarked Hologic's CEO Steve McMillan during a recent earnings call, highlighting the external pressures the company has faced. The interest from TPG and Blackstone underscores a broader trend among private equity firms, which continue to seek large-scale acquisitions despite ongoing market volatility. This bid follows a series of high-profile take-private transactions, including Sycamore Partners' $24 billion acquisition of Walgreens Boots Alliance and Thoma Bravo's $10.6 billion buyout of Boeing's software unit. Such moves signal that private equity remains active and confident in the healthcare sector even as companies navigate economic uncertainties. Hologic has long been a target for acquisition, particularly since activist investor Carl Icahn took a significant stake in the company back in 2013, which led to a strategic overhaul and the implementation of a poison pill defense against hostile takeovers. Icahn's involvement not only reshaped the company's governance but also highlighted its potential in the eyes of investors. As private equity firms like TPG and Blackstone continue to eye Hologic, the healthcare landscape may see further consolidation. The outcome of these negotiations could set a precedent for future investments in the medical technology sector, particularly as companies grapple with the dual pressures of regulatory challenges and the need for innovation in response to evolving market demands. Looking ahead, the possibility of renewed discussions between Hologic and the private equity bidders raises questions about the company's future direction. If a deal were to materialize, it would likely reshape not only Hologic's operational framework but also its strategic priorities in a competitive market increasingly influenced by technological advancements and shifting consumer needs. As the landscape evolves, all eyes will be on Hologic to see how it navigates these turbulent waters while potentially aligning with new partners committed to its growth and success. In a significant legal challenge to the Trump administration, National Public Radio (NPR) has filed a federal lawsuit opposing an executive order that cuts federal funding to the public broadcaster. The lawsuit, lodged in Washington on May 27, 2025 asserts that the executive order is an unconstitutional infringement on press freedom, specifically targeting NPR for its news coverage deemed biased by the president.
NPR's CEO Catherine Marr emphasized the lawsuit's foundational argument, stating, "The intent could not be more clear. The executive order aims to punish NPR for the content of news and other programming the president dislikes." She characterized the order as retaliatory viewpoint-based discrimination that violates the First Amendment rights of the broadcaster. Joining NPR in this legal battle are 3 Colorado public radio stations, all seeking to have the executive order permanently blocked and declared unconstitutional. The executive order issued on May 1 directs federal agencies to halt funding for NPR and PBS and to eliminate indirect public financing sources. In a defense of the order, the White House claimed that NPR and PBS have contributed to partisanship and disseminated left-wing propaganda with taxpayer funds. Citing examples such as editorial choices related to transgender issues and the coverage of the Hunter Biden laptop story. The administration has positioned itself against these public broadcasters. The backdrop to this legal tumult includes intensified criticisms from Trump, particularly after a former NPR editor published a contentious article alleging that the organization had shifted too far left. Marr's past social media posts, which addressed issues like racial injustice, have also drawn scrutiny, further complicating the narrative around NPR's perceived bias. NPR argues that the funding cuts threaten its existence and the vital services it provides to millions of Americans who rely on its news and cultural programming. The broadcaster's financial structure has evolved since its inception in 1970, with a mere 1% of its funding now coming from federal sources compared to 30% from member station fees and 36% from corporate sponsorship. This evolution underscores the organization's independence and its role in amplifying local news stories nationally. In a statement, Marr reinforced the imperative of safeguarding NPR's rights. NPR has a First Amendment right to be free from government attempts to control private speech, as well as from retaliation aimed at punishing and chilling protected speech. This legal confrontation raises critical questions about the relationship between government and media, particularly in an era where accusations of bias and partisanship are rampant. As the lawsuit unfolds, it will not only test the boundaries of the First Amendment but also the future of public broadcasting in the United States. The outcome could have lasting implications for how media organizations operate in relation to governmental oversight and funding, as well as the broader discourse surrounding media freedom. It remains to be seen how the courts will interpret the balance between government authority and press independence in this contentious political climate. In recent developments across various sectors, a blend of local high school sports achievements, a noteworthy internship opportunity for a University of Central Florida student, and significant changes in immigration policies for foreign students have captured public attention. In the realm of high school athletics, the Blue Water area has been buzzing with excitement as local athletes have showcased their exceptional talents. The Times-Herald reported on the top performers from May 19 to May 24, highlighting standout athletes from various sports. In girls soccer, Lola Battaglia of Almont shone brightly, scoring 6 goals and contributing an assist in an 8-0 victory over Croswell Lexington. Meanwhile, in baseball, Tyler Bush from Sandusky demonstrated his skills with a perfect batting performance, going 3-for-3 and driving in a run during a tight contest against Croswell Lexington. The Blue Water Meet of Champions, held on May 22, served as a stage for numerous athletes to set personal records and win their events. Colin Bullard of St. Clair excelled by winning both the 110-meter and 300-meter hurdles, while fellow teammate Vasily Kasparian triumphed in the 100 and 200 meters. The girls' track and field events also saw impressive performances, with Malencia Price from Port Huron clinching victories in the 100, 200 and 400 meters, showcasing the depth of talent in the region. In academia, Kendall Asbury, a double major in English literature and journalism at the University of Central Florida, has secured a prestigious internship at the New York Times through the Dow Jones News Fund. As part of a competitive selection process, Asbury was chosen from nearly 1,050 applicants, highlighting her remarkable potential in the field of journalism.
She expressed her excitement stating, "I am thrilled to represent the University of Central Florida in a national program and at one of the most renowned newsrooms in the world. Her internship will focus on multi-platform editing, allowing her to work alongside other emerging journalists while honing her skills in one of the most respected media environments globally." Asbury credited her success to the support of UCF faculty, particularly senior lecturer Kathleen Hohenleitner, who encouraged her to pursue an editing and publishing certificate. This interdisciplinary approach, combining her love for literature with practical journalism skills, has prepared her for success in an evolving industry. Her experience is a testament to the importance of mentorship and the value of a well-rounded education in shaping future leaders in journalism.
Meanwhile, significant changes are underway regarding the visa application process for foreign students in the United States. According to leaked information, all international students will soon face mandatory social media checks as part of their visa vetting process.
This decision follows a broader crackdown by the Trump administration, particularly targeting students associated with pro-Palestinian protests at Ivy League institutions. Secretary of State Marco Rubio announced that this expansion of social media screening aims to prevent individuals whose online activities could be deemed contrary to U.S. interests from entering the country. This shift comes amidst escalating tensions surrounding funding and admissions policies at prestigious universities, with Harvard University being a focal point of criticism and legal challenges. The implications of these new regulations could potentially deter international students from pursuing education in the U.S., impacting not only the students but also the universities that rely heavily on their enrollment for financial stability. As these stories unfold, they encapsulate a moment of triumph and challenge in various domains, showcasing local athletic achievements, celebrating academic success, and confronting evolving immigration policies. The coming months will be crucial in determining how these developments shape the future landscape of education and sports in the U.S., as well as the experiences of the students involved.